Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Magic Pause podcast. It's your host here, Annalena. And in today's episode, I am going to talk about something really interesting from human design, and in particular, the way of how we make decisions as a projector and also as a generator. So there's this way to respond, and we also learn about wait for an invitation. So I'm going to go into the details of that and what the difference is, because that's a question that came about with one of my clients. And yeah, I'm just really excited to talk about it. But before we dive into that, I want to also share a couple of housekeeping things, because there's actually a few amazing opportunities for you to co-create this podcast. So one, you can actually submit questions. So there is a link right below this episode in the show notes where you can fill out a form and let me know, hey, Nalina, I want you to talk about this topic. And of course, I still respond to it and see what lights me up, what I feel most drawn to talk about, also based on my expertise. Obviously, I talk about all things slowing down, taking a magic pause, human design, gene keys, the whole conversation of tropical versus true sidereal and how it impacts human design and gene keys, and also how to build and scale a business as a conscious introvert leader. So these are things I'm all passionate about. But listen, you can ask me anything and then let's see if it's a match. So that's the first way. And the second way of how you can also co-create this podcast is another amazing opportunity, because you can actually apply to be coached by me. So going forward, once a month, maybe every other month, it really depends on the demand, somebody will come here on the podcast with me. And it's not going to be like a regular interview. It's more a coaching session where you come to me with a specific challenge that you have, or some specific goal that you would like to accomplish, or some clarity you would like to get out of the session. And then I will work with you on that. And of course, we will most likely use your human design chart or your gene keys, depending on what you resonate most with. It can be your tropical chart, it can be your true sidereal chart, both. That's something you will let me know in the intake form. And of course, you have to be comfortable for this coaching session to go out in the whole wide world, because it's going to be on my podcast, it's going to be on my YouTube channel. But also know that when we share something like this, it's actually super powerful, because there's always so much magic that happens in my session with clients. And when we can also share this experience, it can help so many other people. I truly believe that. So I'm really excited about these ways, because having sessions with clients is literally one of my favorite things to do. There's so much transformation that happens often literally in just one session. That's why I'm continuously offer intuitive human design readings and gene keys readings, because I just see again and again how incredibly powerful they are. All right, so with that, before we now dive into the topic for today, let's take a magic pause, because let's walk our talk. And I just invite you to take a deep belly breath in through your nose, into your belly, and release. I always notice myself of how like rushing I was throughout the day, or how tight and tense I was. And this is such a simple practice to just take a deep breath. But I really find that's one of the most powerful things we can do, because it also helps us relax more, right? And we can definitely receive better, and also more insights come to us the more relaxed we are, I find. So definitely encourage you to maybe incorporate this into your day, maybe even several times. Okay, so now let's talk about what is the difference between the way to respond for the generator and the wait for invitation for a projector. Now, if you have been following me along for all these years, you may know this already. But if you're new in my world, this may be a little bit of a surprise. So as I have experimented with human design, which is now for almost 5 years, I have learned a few things, and have mostly learned it, of course, from my own experience, life experience, and experience in business of applying human design, and hundreds of clients I have worked with. And I think that is really the best way to learn anything. I mean, yeah, you can read things in books, but well, you want to apply it first before just, oh, this is how it is, right? And I think we live in a world where we so easily just believe things, right? Like, oh, somebody said this and this is what it is, and now I'm going to do it, and I cannot do it in any other way, right? And with human design, we have these 5 types: the projector, the manifestor, the reflector, the generator, and the manifesting generator. Now, it's all beautiful. And I have learned so much from these 5 types. I'm a manifesting generator in tropical human design. And in my true sidereal chart or cosmic human design chart, by the way, if this is new to you, check out my YouTube channel, reach out to me. I may be opening up a whole new world to you if you have never heard about a different version of human design. So anyways, I'm a 5-1 generator in my true sidereal human design chart. And they look very, very, very different. But anyways, I also have worked with clients that, well, they are a projector in one chart and they are a generator in one chart, as an example, or a manifestor and then a reflector, many different options, right? But I'm just saying all of this because even before true sidereal astrology came into my life, which then led me to also true sidereal human design and gene keys, I already had started to see that what we learn about the 5 types cannot be seen as anything separate, because a human design chart is so unique. I mean, think about it. How can we potentially put 9 billion people-ish into 5 categories and say that, oh, 30% of the population is making decisions like this, 20% of the population make decisions like this? I started to question that. And I also started to see, again, from my own experiment, and especially working with clients, that all the things we learn from all these 5 types, you are probably most likely are going to be a blend of all of them. Then I also learned that in the beginning, when human design was introduced to the world through Ra, there were no 5 types. I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And then later on, apparently, they started to create the 5 types because it's more marketable. It's easier to teach the wisdom of human design in a way, you know. And again, while I think there is a lot of beautiful wisdom with these 5 types, like for me to learn I was a manifesting generator was incredibly life-changing. But then over time, as I dove into my experiment, I was like, okay, but I also really relate to the projector, but I'm a manifesting generator. I can't. But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to give myself permission to do me and take everything that I learn about human design. I don't even care from what type it comes from. I can apply it to myself as well. And then I also witnessed from the comments I was receiving, the questions I was being asked, people reaching out to me and also asking me again things about human design, that very often these 5 types led to what I'm going to call boxing in. So I'll give you an example. I had many times projectors reaching out to me and apologizing to me that they were reaching out to me because they were like, well, I'm not supposed to initiate a conversation. I have to be invited. And I was like, what do you mean? You don't have to be invited to reach out to me. So I was kind of like, I don't understand this. This is really weird. Like, what have you been learning about human design? Or many times there was this idea that people had that only manifestors can initiate anything, or that some types are better than the other types. And I was like, whoa, I think that's not how I see human design. And I think that's more shadow consciousness, because it kind of separates us. It creates hierarchy. It tells you what you can or cannot do. And I just observed it. And with curiosity, I was like, this is really interesting. It was also really good to see, right? Because I think any tool we have, if that's human design, astrology, Enneagram, anything, we can use it to limit ourselves, or we can use it to give ourselves permission to step into our highest calling and purpose here on earth. So now with that, let's talk about, okay, I'm a projector, let's say, and I have learned that my strategy is wait for recognition and invitation. And on the other hand, you may be a generator and you have learned that your strategy to make decisions is wait to respond. What's the difference? Same, or not? So, and there's going to be a little bit of a joke in here too, because I want you to really open your awareness, and I actually want to invite you to question things, because we so easily just believe things. So let's think about it. For the projector, what I have learned, I'm sharing with you, is that the wait for an invitation is really only for the major life decisions. So a new job, or a big career change, a relocation to a different country, or a new home, a new relationship, like major big things in life. So really, the wait for invitation is only for those few big life decisions, which we may have, 5, 10, 20 over the course of our lifetime, maybe more. What about all the other decisions? I mean, we make decisions all day, right? I think almost everyone that learns human design takes it so strict that they think every decision that they make, they have to get invited to. And then there's this idea, I have to be invited by other people, right? What this wait for recognition and invitation really means, and right now, I want to let you all know what I'm saying right now. I truly believe this applies to everyone. It doesn't matter what type you are. I can tell you, as a generator type, I have experienced this numerous times. So the recognition is first about yourself. It is so important that you recognize how powerful you are, that you recognize yourself as an expert in something, that you recognize how lovable you are, that you recognize how amazing and unique you are. This is very much a characteristic I also have learned through the 2-line in human design and in the gene keys. Again, it applies to all of us. If we don't see our magic, other people are probably not going to see it as well, but we need other people to remind us, and we need the universe to keep reminding us. Hence, I believe we have human design and gene keys and other beautiful tools to keep reminding us of something about ourselves, of how unique and special we are, right? So I give you an example. When I learned about being a manifesting generator, before that, I always judged myself for having too many passions, and I was kind of all over the place, and I should just pick one thing, and it never felt right. I felt like I was just a jack of all trades. And I saw it as a flaw. When human design came into my life, I started to learn, because I was like, well, you're supposed to have multiple passions and more versatility and everything. And I started to see that, wow, this is actually a gift that I have. I started to see myself in a whole different light. I started to recognize myself much more. Again, I'm not a projector, right? Per human design. So, and it was also with human design, I started to actually see myself as a teacher very quickly. It just came almost naturally to me. And then, of course, when you see yourself for something and you share about it, I want to emphasize this one more time. This applies to everyone. I have learned this through the projector, which I call an archetype, but it really applies to everyone. But then life starts to invite you. So this whole invitation thing, I want you to think about it more in the context of life, God, source, universe is inviting you into something. And it could be, of course, coming through a person, but it's not something that you rely on another person to give you permission or to invite you, that you have to wait for that. As you see yourself and you stand in your authenticity and allow yourself to be fully yourself, that's really recognizing yourself with all of who you are. Then invitations are just starting to come left and right. And these can be invitations for, like, You get invited to talk at a summit, you get invited to, maybe somebody reaches out and asks you to write a book, or somehow it's all like just coming about, and your inner calling to write a book gets just so strong, and you see all the signs left and right. It's like life is inviting you into something, right? So again, this invitation thing I really find applies to everyone. And in that, these big invitations, you obviously have to respond, right? Because you may have a day because you're so in your power, you're oozing your authenticity, you're boldly speaking your truth as, let's say, as a projector. And all of a sudden you get like 5 invitations to speak on different summits and to collaborate. And well, it's a good thing, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean every invitation that comes your way that you have to say yes to that. Now it's for you to really feel in your body. And of course, now we have to look at all these different authorities. That's the same with these authorities. We think it's just one way, but the way that I like to simplify it is feel it in your body. If it's a more light, expansive, grounded feeling, it tends to be a yes. But if it's a contracting, more like a heavy feeling, that tends to be a no. And it takes practice for you to discern what is a yes for you, what is a no for you. Anytime you're in a reactive state, for example, if you're trying to prove yourself, or you want to be liked by people, or there's this people-pleasing tendency where you may just say yes to something because you don't want to disappoint someone, or you want to be liked, but it may not be the right thing for you, so you say yes anyways, and then it may be, yeah, you got an invitation by the universe, but it's actually not aligned for you, and then it doesn't work out well. It turns out to be disappointing or frustrating, all the things, right? So you have to learn this, right, with all these invitations. And again, I just want to emphasize that the invitation thing is really meant for the big things in life. So you don't have to get invited to just go onto Facebook and start talking about what you're passionate about. Or let's say you decided to launch a course or something like that. That's, I mean, yeah, you're going to invest some time and energy into it, but it's not like a major life transition kind of situation. So you don't have to have an invitation for that. However, you want to always make sure that you respond. This is now where the generator strategy comes in. So the generator, we learn, you're here to respond. It's wait to respond. And as much as the wait for invitation applies to the generator for these big decisions in life, the way to respond that I'm talking about now also applies, in my humble opinion. Again, I have really worked with many, many people, and from my experience as well, it also applies to projectors and manifestors and reflectors and many-gens, everyone. Because we are here, all of us, we're here to respond to life. You will find this wisdom in the Bible. You find this wisdom in Kabbalah, everywhere. Like, we are here to respond to life. It doesn't matter what human design type you are. I'm so thankful that I learned this through human design, through the generator archetype. Absolutely life-changing. Absolutely. Now, what does way to respond really means? The way I always like to explain it is that, let's say, because we were talking about this scenario where, as a projector, right, you were putting a course out into the world, maybe like an offer, and you just created it because you had an idea. I mean, we have sometimes lots of ideas, sometimes not at all, but it's like we have this idea and we're like, oh my God, I need to do it. And then we put it out there. That is not way to respond. That's like acting on an idea. What I always recommend to really embody the way to respond, which tends to be much more successful, is to write down your ideas, because there may be many, and many times you just pick up other people's ideas. It was just some excitement in the moment, but it's not really energetically aligned for you. There's not really an interest out there. So just make a list of these ideas. And maybe over time you have 10, 20 ideas and you just let it be. And then you're going to be like, all right, universe, I'm just going to let go right now of the need to do this. Let me see if there's any kind of response, if there's anything happening kind of confirming for me to do this, right? And then it could be that nothing happens with this idea, like nothing kind of shows up again, or nobody's asking you about this topic. Or it could be that, you had this idea to launch a course on a specific topic that over the next few days or weeks or months, people are reaching out to you and they ask you like, hey, Annalena, have you thought about teaching this? Or can you tell me more about this? And then wait, now you can respond. And now you kind of feel like, how does it feel in your gut, in your body? And again, also as a projector and any undefined sacral being, you still have a gut response. We all do. It's not like because the sacral center is undefined that you don't have a gut response. That's another really big misconception, I feel. And as you respond then, if people keep asking you, it feels again like a yes for you, then it's for you to put the course out into the world in this example. And one way that I love to practice this sacral response is with little things in life. Let's say you go to the grocery store, right? And you just ask yourself, like, is this for me? Or what do I want to eat today? Right? And you just feel drawn to certain things in the grocery aisle instead of just making a list from your mind. Or if you go to a restaurant and there's a menu with certain things, like, what are you responding to? Maybe it's even something you're smelling, somebody that ordered something next to you, and you can like, yeah, I love it. Let me order that. So this basically means that we are all here to respond. And as a generator, of course, this is the main focus for you. Like that's what we learned through the generator archetype. But there will be other times where you will be invited by life and then you still respond, right? And it's so similar. So for me, the only difference between the wait for invitation and wait to respond between the generator and the projector archetype in human design is that the wait for invitation is really for the big major things in life. Just to recap, that's a new relationship, like a whole new living situation, relocation, a new professional endeavor, career, like really like a new major evolution in your life. And this is something that just, life invites you into. And the way to respond is a little bit more practical in our daily life. But the two, they go together. We cannot see this as black or white. Because again, if the way for an invitation is only for the major big things in life, then again, the question is like, okay, what about all these other decisions? How am I going to make decisions there? Right? And I could literally explain you guys all of the different authorities and strategies and everything, and you're going to start to realize how it really applies to all of us. This is something I will go deeper into the upcoming human design certification that I'm launching in March of 2025, which I'm super excited about because I see human design very differently than what you read in a textbook. I can actually no longer read traditional human design books because it has become, again, where I'm at on my evolution, right? I have to really take this into account. It has become too constricting for me. And I have seen and witnessed how it can affect people in a way that it actually limits them rather than empowers them. And for some reason, most of my audience really resonates with this more expansive, more versatile view of human design, where you can really integrate the teachings and wisdom and learnings from all of the 5 types into your unique chart. Because you guys, we have transits, which constantly gives your chart a different kind of energy. And it's also one of the things that I learned in the very beginning from my teacher, Karen Parker. She always said, you have all of the chart. And I was like, what does she mean? Like, what do you mean you have all of the chart? But yeah, we have all of the 9 centers This is why the sacral center, again, if you have it undefined, it doesn't mean you don't have it. You know, the way that you learn about this energy is probably in greater variability, but everyone that's a human, right, has a sacral center, and this center is teaching us that we are here to respond to life, all of us, and that we're supposed to do what lights us up. That doesn't just apply for the generator. We probably learn it through the generator archetype, and it may come easier to the generators so that all the other types can learn this as well. And so I hope this gives you a little bit more perspective on human design, and I also invite you to question things. You know, we hear so many things in the world, and people are saying things, and yeah, Ra downloaded human design in 1987. This is what he said. Then they created the 5 types, and you know, we pick up this knowledge later on, and we just take it like this is the truth, and we have to know all follow it. I think that we have to be much more discerning, and this is something I have learned now through the gene keys, especially the 13th gene key is about discernment, right? And it's so important that, yeah, you come up with your own truth, and you have the absolute freedom to use human design in a way that works for you. Don't ever let it limit you, because that's not its purpose, you know? And with that, I also want to mention that in the very beginning, when human design came to me, the types were absolutely beautiful and profound. Like I said, the manifesting generator was so much of a blessing to me. And I just always, maybe that's a gift I have. I always saw it more all-inclusive, where I started to also resonate, especially with the projector archetype a lot. And then, of course, then I learned later on in my chart, I have a lot of projected energies. There's a little bit more advanced human design terminology, but just to let you know that anything from all the 5 types, you can probably find elements of this in your own life. Because the other thing is too, like, we all have times where we are meant to initiate something, right? And you can initiate also something in response. And you may have then people tell you like, oh no, only manifestors can initiate, that doesn't work. And or we have reflectors, and we're being told, oh, reflectors go with the lunar cycle. They have like 29 days to make big decisions. But again, that's not practical, guys, right? Like, reflectors are probably tired of hearing that, because yeah, I think we are all here to be attuned with the lunar cycle. But also reflectors need to make day-to-day decisions, right? So it's just so important to me that I share this view that I have on human design, so that it may also help you to see it in a little bit of a more relaxed way of thinking and feeling, and how you really use this concept for yourself, because it's really only here to empower you, right? And to remind you of your magic and how amazing you are. And I think I did a little reel on this on my Instagram the other day. Like, when you use human design to give yourself an excuse not to do something, I think we're using it from, yeah, shadow or victim consciousness, which again, we can all fall into that. I have been there many times. So in my example, I did feel as a 2 for manifesting generator with my 2 line, which the 2 line is very much, again, like I said, the projector archetype, you know, where I also felt like I should initiate too much. But yeah, I just did it. And I had a lot of initiating energy then in my chart, which then also really helped me to take action on certain things and initiate things. It was still always in response. But even for the manifester, the initiation never wants to come from the mind. If the manifester initiates from the mind, it's probably not going to work either, you know? So anyways, there may be a lot of things that I kind of open up for you, and you may have a lot of questions, but this is something I will continue to talk more about it, because as I have been taking some magic pauses myself, and I have been doing a lot of reflecting over the years, and also what has been happening in my membership, the Conscious Money Creators, that are also occasionally open for enrollment. Where everything has been going is really in this more all-inclusive way, or this universal way of approaching human design, right? And really seeing your chart as a very unique chart, which is so much more than the type. And I love it because it's just like an astrology chart, right? Like no chart is the same. And in astrology, we have the sun sign, where we say like, oh, I'm an Aquarius, or I'm a Cancer, or I'm a Gemini, right? And we can also over-identify with that. And it's the same in human design with the types, where we're like, oh, I'm a projector and I can only do this, but what I have learned about the generator is not going to work for me. But then we wonder why this is not really working for us. When you can open yourself up to, in this particular example that I was focusing on today, that even if you are a projector, and you really allow these invitations to come into your life, which, by the way, happens the faster you're not looking for it, but realize you're also here to respond to life. The more you respond, instead of jumping onto things that just come into your mind in the moment, especially when you commit some time and energy into things, then it's going to be so much more successful and so much more beautiful. And on the flip side, also for all the generators out there, the big stuff, it will happen and respond, but it also will feel like a big fat invitation from life, right? So it's very similar, the wait for invitation and the wait to respond. To me, really, the only difference is that the wait for an invitation is about the really big, major things in life, which again, they happen here and there, right? Not on a daily basis for sure. And the way to respond is something we're really constantly practicing, I think, day in and day out. It can be as simple as you wake up in the morning and you open up the window and you see the sun and you're responding, and, ooh, let me go for a walk, right? Because it's so gorgeous outside. So it's almost like we are always flirting with life as we always respond. So I would love to hear you guys' takeaway from what I shared with you today. And hey, it could be that I confused you a little bit, but I have learned that I have to follow my truth, and I can no longer just teach the cookie cutter way of human design where everything is separate and this is only applying to this and this is only applying to that, right? Because I have found through my experiment, it's not right. And my body has been showing me that it's not aligned, because when something feels off, my body very clearly kind of like drains my energy. And when I'm on the right path, it's like life is giving me more energy. And I have also noticed this in my readings with clients, because in the very beginning, when I just shared the traditional information and knowledge about human design, right, about the type, and this is how you're supposed to be doing things, I started to notice that I really got to a limit with my energy to continue doing human design readings. And when I finally gave myself permission to really see the chart in such a unique way, and almost like transcending the type, and really see all of the elements that are in the chart, and sharing intuitive insights as I was listening to my client and what was coming up, that's when it started to become super powerful and super unique. And I started to feel like so much more energized as well. And again, this can happen for everyone, no matter what your human design type is. And yeah, I just hope this served you. Like I said, I would love to hear your comments, reflections. If you have further questions, you have the opportunity to submit them. And maybe in one of the next episodes, I will answer your questions. So with that, I want to thank you for being here today for another Magic Pause. Thank you for listening, and I'm excited to be with you all on the next episode. Bye, everyone.